Good evening, everyone. My name is Jessica Olamet. I am the IB coordinator at Del Mar High School, and I also teach a section of AVID. We are very excited to host this virtual event for you all. Can IB be for me? I want to allow Mr. Lopez, our principal, to introduce himself, and then we'll get started.
Hi, thank you, everybody. I'm Mr. Lopez. I'm the principal here at Del Mar High School. Very thankful that everyone can be here, and to Ms. Alamet for helping organize this, and the students especially for making themselves available, even though they may have homework and stuff that continues to pile up in distance learning. But we really appreciate all that you guys are doing and sharing your experiences. And just a heads up, the Q&A button is how we'll be answering questions. So if you do have any questions, feel free to put it in the Q&A and we'll be able to respond to those as we continue moving forward. Thank you, everyone.
All right. So, yeah, I also would like to thank our student panel for being here. I'm going to introduce them shortly. And then I want to thank Ms. Shembri, a huge thank you. She's in the background. She's our tech support who got us all set up for tonight. So thank you so much. So the purpose of this evening is really to help students get a better understanding of what our IB program is all about, and especially for our current Del Mar students, to give them a little bit of a student perspective on what the IB program entails, and hopefully help them decide how many IB classes they want to take, if they want to do the full diploma or be a course candidate. And we just realized over the years that hearing from students is much more powerful than just listening to the staff. So I'm going to do a brief overview about the IB program, and then we're going to hear from students. We actually have one video of an alum. Then we'll hear from the student panel, and then we'll answer any questions that people have at the end. So you can type your questions in the Q&A box now, but we're going to hold off on answering them until we get to the Q&A portion. So the first thing that I want to emphasize about our IB program at Del Mar is that we have really intentionally created this program as being open and as open access as possible. Our goal at Del Mar is for every single junior and senior to take at least one IB class. So, there's no application. You don't have to write an essay. You don't need teacher recommendations. All you need to do is be getting a C or better in your prior year's course, and then you can go into the IB class. We really do not want this program to become, kind of a elite, like little school within a school, or this exclusive club. We really believe that IB is a really high quality education, and it should be open access to everyone who wants to participate. Secondly, I want to emphasize that one of the things that I really value about the IB program is that it's the only program that I've heard of at the high school level that incorporates a really holistic approach to students' education. So we're concerned not only with developing students as scholars and improving, their knowledge as mathematicians and scientists and readers and writers, but also, as people. So the IB Learner Profile are 10 characteristics that students are expected to reflect on and develop over really the whole 4 years that they're at Del Mar. And these are qualities like being a risk taker, being reflective, being caring, being communicators, open-minded, things that really are extremely important in the world today. And again, it's the only program I know of at the high school level that also incorporates that kind of character education along with the academics. So at Del Mar, the IB program starts when students are juniors and seniors. So when you come in as a freshman, you don't start taking IB classes, but all of our classes in 9th and 10th grade are structured so that they help students be prepared for IB classes when they get to the junior and senior level. A lot of the assessments in 9th and 10th grade mirror the type of assessments that students will do in IB classes. So again, it doesn't officially start when you're in 9th and 10th grade, but you are getting preparation for IB at that level. And then once students become juniors and seniors, that's when they can start taking IB classes. There's two choices for being involved in IB. You can be a course candidate, meaning that you're taking some IB classes, and that decision is purely up to the student. It's based on how many classes they think they can handle, while also factoring in all of the responsibilities that they have outside of school. So some students, you know, intellectually could handle the full IB diploma, but because they have so much going on outside of school, they decide not to do that. And that's a completely fine choice. And then there's a handful of students at each grade level who decide to do the full IB diploma, which is the most rigorous option that we have at Del Mar. These students are taking 6 IB classes, plus they're also doing the 3 core requirements, which are taking a class called Theory of Knowledge, and then completing 2 requirements that are outside of the school day. One of those is CAS, which stands for Creativity, Activity, and Service. That means that they need to be showing that they're doing something creative, something physically active, and then plan and implement and reflect on a community service project that they create. And then the third requirement is they write an extended essay, which is about a 10-page research paper on a topic of their choice. I'm sure some of the students tonight will share what they wrote about. They have a supervisor who helps them with that. It's like a mini thesis. So those are the requirements for the full diploma. And I forgot to mention at the beginning that my apologies, we planned on having Spanish translation for this event, but our translator had a family emergency that he just let me know about a couple hours ago. So unfortunately, we weren't able to provide that. But normally we would have that for you all. All right, so now we're going to hear from some students. These are the people you're actually here, or came to hear from. So first, we're going to start with a video from Nicole Estrella. She graduated last year as a diploma candidate, and now she's currently attending San Jose State. I'm going to play this clip. It's about 2.5 minutes long. Can you all, Mr. Lopez, you're the first person I see on my screen. Can you just give me a thumbs up so I know that the sound is working when I start it? And then we'll hear from our current students. So this is Nicole.
Hi, future IB students. If you're wondering whether the IB will help you in college, I can assure you that it definitely will. So one of the first things I've learned in college is that you really have to learn how to take initiative. And some of the ways IB has helped me in that I've not only built such strong academic skills like good critical thinking and how to write good essays for English and history, but I've also built those strong interpersonal skills like time management, taking initiative, and developing that strong work ethic, which are really essential when you're in college because you have more independence now, and it really is your responsibility to communicate to your professor and your peers if you're struggling. So that's one of the ways IB has helped me. Additionally, the IB can be challenging, and you are taking like college level coursework. So that prepares you in that when you're in college, you're just like, I'm ready because you already know how it feels like to handle the college level rigor. And as a current pre-nursing student, that's one of the ways IB has helped me in that I already know how it feels like to handle that college level coursework. And most importantly, I already know what learning styles work best for me. And since with online classes, I'm teaching myself a lot of information, it's definitely been very useful. Lastly, if you're wondering whether the IB will help you with the technical stuff, I can assure you, and I would do research, but for most colleges, it does help you in a sense that just my transfer credits alone, because of the IB program, I have over 21 transfer credits. And combined with like my classes for first semester, it already puts me in sophomore standing. And additionally, that means that I don't have to take any more English classes. I don't have to take any more language like Spanish or French classes. And because I have enough credits, I can apply for jobs on campus. So that's one of the ways the IB has helped me. So yeah, so if you're planning to do IB, know that it will help you, and I wish you the best of luck.
Okay. I love hearing from her. So she's made a great video. I'm so thankful to Nicole, and I'm so glad to hear that she's doing so well. But now we're going to hear from some of our current students. So
Hi,
no,
future
not
IBC.
Nicole. We love you, Nicole, but you only get one turn. Okay. Let me introduce our students first, and then we'll go through and they'll answer the questions I have prepared, and then we'll open it up to Q&A for everybody. Okay, so let's see. First on my screen is Taryn Gonzalez. Taryn, if you want to wave to everybody, that would be great. So Taryn is a current senior who is doing the full IB diploma. On my screen, underneath him is Logan Sumi. Logan is an 11th grader, and she's also pursuing the full IB diploma. Below her is Allison Kabacha. She is a current junior who is a course candidate. Then I see Ansh Pandy, who is a senior and is earning his IB diploma. And then we have Kate Reinhard, who's also a senior, earning her IB diploma. And Fatima Gonzalez, who is also a senior, and she is a course candidate. So without further ado, let's hear from these students. So I have 3 questions that they're going to be answering, and then, like I said, we'll open it up to Q&A. So the first question is, why did you decide to participate in the IB program? So Taryn, why don't you start us off?
Hey, I'm Taryn, but I decided to do the full IB diploma because I wanted to attend university internationally. And by doing the full diploma, you don't have to take all these AP courses and subject exams like a normal student. And it's kind of like, I guess, one-way ticket almost. And it's also recognized internationally. So.
All right, thank you, Taryn. And let's see. Anch, how about you? Can you share why you decided to do the full just participate in the IB program?
Yeah, so for me, I actually didn't start off at Del Mar from 9th grade. I came in halfway through my sophomore year. So I kind of had the choice if I wanted to go to like a traditional like US school where they focus on AP and College Board and go that route. But I chose to come to Del Mar and participate in the IB program because I just wanted to challenge myself. And as Taryn said, I'm also looking to apply internationally. So the IB diploma is kind of like a ticket to go international and be eligible for all of these things internationally versus having to like go through a bunch of loopholes in attempting to take AP classes, because there's a very strict set of requirements for US students going internationally. So I'd have to plan out my entire high school before I actually entered it. And that's something that I didn't really want to do because I wasn't even sure what I wanted to major in up until the end of last year. So.
Thank you, Anch. Okay, Fatima, can you go ahead and share why you decided to participate in IB?
Yeah, so similarly to Anch, I was a transfer student. I started my freshman year at Westmont, and I live in a community that goes a lot to, all the students go to Del Mar, and I heard a lot of things about how IB is really well-rounded in the content it puts out. So I transferred here, and I initially started with the IB diploma because I'm a student that seeks to be challenged academically, and also in accordance with what Ms. Alamed said prior of all the characteristics that they taught. I thought it was the best thing for me to not only exceed academically, but also become a better person and student. So I started off with the entire diploma. But then at the end of my junior year, I dropped it because I had personal situations. So I kept continuing to be a course candidate because of the benefits that it provides for college, because it prepares you, as the alum said, it's like college level coursework. And also I've seen how it has made me a better student, and I think I'm better prepared. So those were the reasons why I joined the program.
Thank you, Fatima. And Allison, why did you decide to participate in IB?
Hi, so I decided to join the IB program because throughout middle school, I went to Monroe. I've been hearing a lot about the the IB program. I actually went into it wanting to be a diploma candidate at first, but personally, I knew my limits and the workload I can take. But so I just continued on as a course candidate, and I had a lot of interest in like science. So right now I'm taking IB Bio and also language. So I'm taking IB Spanish. And like what everybody else said, I wanted that extra challenge and also being prepared for college.
Great. Thank you so much to all of you. Okay, let's move to the next question, which is what has been your favorite part of the IB program? Let's start with Kate, please.
Hi. So I kind of have two favorite parts. Something that's really unique to the IB program for each individual classes are internal assessments. So, internal assessments are basically where you get to choose to do like an exploration or a paper or an experiment, depending on the subject of the class, and choosing to like write about something that um, is of personal interest. So, for some of my IAs in my history class, I got to write about the Berkeley Free Speech Movement, and in my IB biology class, I got to like do an experiment with plants with little moss balls, and so you get to really like choose what you want to do and like expand on your own interests. And then being an IB diploma candidate with my extended essay, I wrote about the Americans with Disabilities Act because I'm the president of our school's Best Buddies chapter. So you're really able to like cater to your own interests, which I think is something that's really unique to IB.
Great. Thank you so much, Kate. Logan, what is your favorite part of the IB program?
So I've only been in the program for half a semester now, but I really like the community it has. I'm in a group chat with all the other diploma candidates, and we talk about like the homework sometimes and if we need help. And usually when we have an essay in a class, we have somewhere we can share and get peer editing. And it's super nice to have these people who are willing to help you and reach out. So it's really cool to have these peers that are with you.
Thank you. Okay, how about Anch? What's your favorite part?
So as a student, I love to be challenged, and kind of the rigor that IB brings around just in terms of like the classes that you're taking and then the content that we try to cover. I really enjoyed that part because it's helped me grow both academically and as a person by teaching me some of these soft skills that I would not have had until like I got to college and university. And kind of like Kate said, I really enjoyed working on my IAs and my extended essay. So like for my extended essay, I was able to like understand the historical significance of the collapse of the Soviet Union and the impact that it played in the relationship between the US and India, which was a really like deep essay for me because I was able to connect the place that I call home, which is the US, with the place that I was born, which was India. So that was kind of like a linker between a bunch of stuff internationally and myself.
Y'all are so impressive. Um, all right, the last question. What's the most important thing you've learned since being a part of IB? We're going to have all of our students answer this. Again, I'm just going to go in the order that you're all appearing in my screen. So Ansh, you are first up. So why don't you answer that question for us, please?
Yeah, so like I said, the most important thing would probably be the soft skills that you kind of learn and like what you learn about yourself while taking IB. So time management is crucial in IB because without being able to manage your time, you're just gonna like fall behind and it snowballs really, really quickly. And then within classes, I've learned like the best way for me to take notes and understand them and kind of comprehend that. So I'd be better prepared when I'm going off to university and like studying in the future.
Great. All right, Kate, you are next. Most important thing you've learned.
Definitely the most important thing I've learned is how to like view things from a wider perspective. So in IB, they really emphasize like holistic learning and having a worldly view. And I think that definitely by taking all of these different IB courses, I've been able to see connections between like my history class and my biology class and being able to connect those to things that aren't academic and are outside of the IB program. So it really just gives you a unique perspective.
Thank you. All right, Logan, you are next.
Um, like like Anj said, time management. I think the most important thing for me, I guess, is prioritizing, figuring out what needs more time spent and more effort. And it's just, I guess, managing what I have. And it's also, the classes are really fast paced, which is something you have to adapt to. Some classes are faster, some are slower. So you really have to figure out what works, and you just have to adapt, which is sort of fun to practice now.
All right, Allison, what about you?
Um, I think that the most important thing I've learned is being able to communicate with not only my teacher, but like my peers in my class, because the like what everyone else has said, it's like the courses are rigorous, some are slow, some are fast, and having that support system from others helps a lot. And it's definitely gotten me through some stressful times in my classes.
Great. Fatima, you are next.
Like said prior, time management is a really big thing I've learned throughout this time because of the not extensive the workload it demands, and also I think as Kate said, you get a really your worldview really changes with IB, and connecting that to like a content specific. I really like this idea of there being multiple truths that exist at the same time, which comes from TOK, because I think you can see that in practice in all the classes, and then it's really shaped my worldview and just how I am as a student and as a person.
Thanks, Fatima. And just to make sure everybody was clear, TOK is the acronym for Theory of Knowledge. Lots of acronyms in education in general, but IB especially. All right, Taryn, what is the most important thing you've learned?
For me, it's been balance and trying to find a balance between like all the coursework I have and still trying to be like, a teen because we're all 16, 17, we're still trying to like grow up and stuff. So I've been trying to find a balance between like taking these hard classes and still hanging out with friends and having time for myself.
Okay, so those are the only questions that we had prepared. At this point, we'd like to hear any questions that you all have. There was one question that someone had asked earlier, and Fatima, thanks for responding, but I'm going to just share it in case not everybody saw. Someone asked, for IB diploma candidates, do they have to do all 3 of the core requirements or 1 out of the 3? And the answer is that you need to do all 3. So TOK, Theory of Knowledge, the Creativity Activity Service, and the Extended Essay are required for diploma candidates. They're also optional for anyone. So we do have a few students who are not diploma candidates, but they enroll in the Theory of Knowledge course just because they think it sounds interesting. We also this year have a few students who are doing CAS and writing an extended essay, but they're not diploma candidates. And it's actually, I think, a great thing for their personal growth. And it also looks really great on a college application. Let's see, it looks like we got some other questions coming in. Okay, someone wants me to go back on my slides. Hold on. About the difference between course candidates and diploma candidates. So just another reminder, course candidates are students who are taking any number of IB courses, anywhere from 1, some are taking all the way to 6, but they're not choosing to do, in addition, the 3 core requirements of CAS, Extended Essay, or Theory of Knowledge. Let's see, someone else is asking, have dyslexic people participated in the program? I can't answer about specifically for dyslexia, but I can tell you that we do have students who are have an IEP or a 504 who have taken IB classes and been very successful. The IB program, the organization allows for what they call inclusive assessment arrangements. So if a student, under their normal IEP gets extra time, then I've put in a request for that student to get that same accommodation on their IB exams. So we have had a few students who get extra time on their exams. We've had a student who has always been allowed to use a laptop for his assessments because his handwriting, he just has a really hard time with that actual handwriting part. And so he was allowed to use a laptop during all of his IB exams. So the IB does make allowances for students, who need it. Let's see. Oh, this is a good question. So this is for you all students. Did you ever feel like you weren't kind of smart or good enough to be in an IB class? And did you have self-doubt about your performance, like how well you would be able to do in an IB class?
So kind of answering that question, I feel like from time to time we've all kind of had that experience where we feel like what we're doing isn't enough. But I feel that the support of like the teachers and the staff, like if you just go in to talk to them during office hours right now, or if we were in normal school, just like pop by their rooms, they're really supportive and really helpful and kind of help you work through whatever problems you have. Like if you're struggling with a specific type of paper or a specific type of like question, you can just go in and they'd be super willing to help. And it's super like useful just going in and talking to them to kind of clear your doubts.
Um, Taryn, I think, was going to speak, and then Fatima, I see your hand is up. You can go after Taryn.
Yeah, so I remember the first year of IB for my junior year. First semester bio, like really, it was really tough for me, and I'd never really struggled that much in a class before. I was always a straight A student. I got my first B, and I was really like doubting myself whether I could, continue on with bio, um, like as a senior now, and even in college in the future. Um, but like it's definitely hard to get over that. But it's kind of like part of being a diploma student. You have to like persevere through all these struggles, and like you can't really focus on like one thing at a time.
Go ahead, Fatima.
For me specifically, like Anj said, I think it never really stops at small moments. But specifically my first year, I came out of sophomore year, I took AP Gov and I did really good in it. And then I went into IB HOTA. And I really struggled with not necessarily the content, but IB testing. I was really struggling with what is the paper three. But like Anj said, the support was there. Miss Cassie always gave us attempts for retakes, and she would always be there. I felt at times I would be even annoying, and just every time I would come in asking for help. But she was always willing to help, and I worked from what I think was like a 3 out of 7 on the paper three to 7 out of 7. So you struggle, but there's always sufficient help to work whenever it is available to you during lunch, after school, etc.
All right, Kate, go ahead.
I think also Logan was kind of touching on this earlier, but not just your teachers that are super helpful, but the people in your classes. I know specifically, I have a lot of friends already outside of my IB classes who have been really helpful, but also you meet a lot of people in your classes. And once you kind of get in there, there's a really big community, and you realize that not everyone is always doing well in the class, and everyone kind of is going through the same struggles academically. And so it's really easy to find someone or a group of people in your courses that are going to be able to help you and answer questions. I've been in a lot of group chats and had like study groups and stuff. So it's really not that difficult to reach out and find someone to help you.
Great, thank you. And just a reminder, yeah, good. I was going to say, make sure you guys lower your hands so that I know you're not trying to speak again. Okay, here's another question for seniors. How did you all manage the college application process while you were in the diploma program? They probably cried at one point. You can be honest. Tell us if you cried. Let's go Ansh and then Kate.
Yeah, so my recommendation for that is just start early. Start as early as you can. I started looking at like different universities that I want to apply to, different courses, like at the end of my 11th grade year. And then I started filling out like college applications as soon as they released. So like UC's I think came out in like September, but by that time I already had like drafts ready to like get that kick started. So just start as early as you can. And the way that like Del Mar kind of structures the IB program, there's internal deadlines that like if you meet, you'd be on track to do the IB diploma. So just kind of following that deadline set, it was really helpful. So like for our extended essay, we had to have a rough draft in by the end of junior year. And by not like procrastinating and pushing it off until like the final deadline in November, that like summer wasn't as stressful and I didn't have as much as I would have had to write if I just kind of left it towards the end of the year.
All right, Kate, go for it.
I think one of the biggest things that was difficult about balancing IB classes with college applications was the fact that a lot of IB classes are 2 years. And so, like what Ansh was saying, there are going to be internal assessment deadlines kind of in the fall of your first semester senior year, which is when you'd also be doing college applications. Time management has definitely been really important. I'd say that this semester, even if it wasn't online, it was probably more difficult just because of managing both college applications and the IB diploma. I personally was working on my college applications the past break that we just had, but I definitely don't think that it's something that's unreasonable.
All right, thank you all. Okay, our next question is, the work sounds intimidating and a little stressful. How much time outside of school do you all spend studying?
Personally, I think it depends on the person. Like, if you're having trouble with certain content, you definitely spend more time studying that. But for like me, I don't do well studying, if that makes sense. I kind of just do my work and study for a test. Um, but then again, it varies between person and person.
Kind of building off of that, it also depends on the class. So like, and like how much homework you get per night. So like for instance, in history, it's not really you have to memorize like a bunch of dates and a bunch of facts. You kind of have to know what happens in order to like analyze it for the IB papers. So studying in the sense is more like reading documents and trying to answer like specific history style questions. So that might take some time initially, but then slowly you pick up speed and it gets a bit easier. Versus like math, I'm in IB Math Analysis and Approaches HL, which is a 2-year class. So in that, the concepts are pretty difficult. So I have to invest a bit more time kind of studying, doing extra questions, practicing to kind of get a solid foundation and a solid grip on what's happening in the class.
Anybody else want to share about how much time you think you spend on homework outside of school? Can someone give like a estimate? Like, I think people want to know, is it, in the range of like 2 to 3 hours a night, or is it like 5 to 6 hours a night? And I know that some nights are going to be different. Obviously, there's going to be, if you have a big paper due, you might be staying up a lot later the night before, but on an average, on a typical night, can you all share how much time you spend?
I think like Kate said, 2 to 3. For me personally, 2 to 3 on regular days, but when it's unit finals, midterms, finals, it's like 5 to 6.
That seems to be like the standard answer, I think, for most students. Okay, let's see. The next question that somebody asked was, I'll just answer this one. As an incoming freshman, how would students select which IB classes they want to take? So I'm going to share some kind of next steps at the very end of the evening, but families can always email me, and I'm happy to sit down with students at any grade level and help them create kind of their, if you're an incoming freshman, we can create a 4-year plan. If you're a current freshman, we'll do the next 3 years, etc. And then anyone who is considering doing the full IB diploma always meets with me to make sure that they're picking the right courses and that they're fulfilling all of the requirements. So, you can make that, we can make that plan now with the knowledge that students can change their mind, right? You might decide you want to take a class in 9th grade, and then by the time it actually comes to it, you realize, what, I don't want to take that class, or I want to do something different. So nothing is set in stone, but we can always make a plan. The next question I'll also answer, do you have to have certain grades to do the IB diploma? The only requirement is that you have C's or better in your prior year's course. Now, I will say that, if you're a straight C student, I do think going from straight C's to the full IB diploma would be a lot. And I think that would be really hard. But if you're getting a mix of A's and B's, I do think that that diploma is definitely within your reach. And even if you're getting C's in some classes, I still think everyone can be a course candidate, right? And take at least one IB class, if not two or three. There's a few other questions, students, sorry, that I can just real quick. Is it required to take a year of IB language? If you want to do the IB diploma, it is a requirement. It's not a requirement for graduation or even for colleges, but it is required for the diploma. Okay, this is a student question. Do you all feel like the workload is the same now that we're under distance learning as it was in person? I'll just open that up to anyone who wants to answer it.
All right, I think I can answer this one. In comparison, I feel that the workload has actually increased a little bit because towards the end of last year, the second semester, none of us were prepared to go into like a distance learning mode. So that kind of time for class was like really cut down and wasn't as intensive as like our normal semester was. And then this year it's like been definitely a lot better, but I still feel that the curriculum that we have to cover is we have to cover the same amount of curriculum, almost the same amount of curriculum that we would have had to in a normal school year, but with like shorter classes and shorter times. So it feels like there's a lot more work that we have to do at home, but that might just be because we're always at home and we just have to make up that ground. But I think normally we still have a lot of work normally, but it's not anything manageable.
I think this question would be beneficial to hear from more than one person. And be honest, I mean, if you're feeling overwhelmed with distance learning, that's a very common experience among students right now. So let's hear from some other folks about this one.
Yeah, I can kind of, I mean, last semester as a senior applying to college apps, it definitely felt like a lot. And I think at some points it was like teachers would give you more work because they assumed that like you're at home all the time, you have more time to like do homework. But I guess like as a diploma student, we normally get a lot of work, so I was kind of like, you just have to get used to it.
Adding on to that, I don't know. I feel like it has, but given our new schedule because of distance learning, it's slightly more manageable. Because I have 6 IB classes and 1 AP, and I also have a job after school, but I've still been able to finish all my homework before I go to work. So I think if you learn time management or like how to manage the homework, it won't feel like a lot of work, even though it kind of is.
Anybody else want to jump in on this one before I go to the next question? Okay, then the next question is, do you all have time to participate in extracurricular activities like sports or theater? So maybe you guys, some of you could share what you do in addition to school.
I feel like I've been doing a lot, but this is because we're in distance learning, so it's definitely been a little bit more manageable about flexibility. So I'm on the volleyball team. I am on the student advisory board for the district. I'm in a couple clubs at school, so NHS and APSU, in Spanish conversational. It's a lot, but it's definitely manageable, and I like being in a part of all these different groups, and it's really encouraged by the diploma, which is why I really like it. So it's not something I have to sacrifice for my academics.
For me, if you make time, you definitely have time to like do extracurriculars. Like I'm on the volleyball team. I play club volleyball outside of school, and then I go hiking regularly. I'm a vice president for SHF, admin, a few other clubs. Sorry. But like before I did the diploma, I was a two-sport athlete. So I played um, school volleyball or school soccer and club volleyball at the same time. But with the diploma, I had to cut one of those. So if you're like a two-sport athlete, well, not depends on the season, but if you're playing two sports at once, that's definitely not going to be like recommended when you start the diploma or start IB classes. You're definitely want to like cut back with something.
So kind of like Taryn, I'm not a two-sport athlete, but I played basketball all 4 years of high school. And right now I'm like president of SHF, robotics, and CSF. And I'm also on the project invent team. So, I mean, there's definitely a lot of stuff that I do, especially during basketball season last year. I was kind of like on a crunch for time. So you kind of have to use the time wisely, essentially. So like what I used to do is after school, sometimes we had practices at 4. And whenever school ended, as soon as it ended, I went to the school library, started on my homework. Then when the school library closed, I went to practice and I used to do homework in like the gym's lobby until our coach came and opened the door. So I kind of use that time instead of spending that time like watching TV or talking to friends or doing anything like that. I was able to use that time like wisely. So then when I came home from practice after I would be tired from like 2 hours of just like intense basketball training, I would be like fine and I wouldn't have to stress about like, oh, I still would need to do this work or I haven't been able to do this now. So just like the usage of time was really important in being able to participate in my extracurriculars.
Fatima, your hand's up. Go for it.
Well, I'm no longer a diploma student. I still have the same classes in the first year I was. The first year I did track and I did a program called Youth and Government Model Legislature and Court, which takes up a lot of my week. And I also did 2 clubs, and I found that like Anj said, you had to really like figure out your time. It's not easily manageable. It is manageable if you have the desire to do it. So when I had like a long track meet that would last for like 4 hours, and I knew there would be times where I would take my backpack with me to do homework. So you just have to know your time and know what you would be doing at certain times in order to manage both your extracurriculars and your workload.
Kate, go for it. You're up.
So I did this event last year when we were still at school in person, and I'd just come from a 4-hour rehearsal for the musical, and have been in multiple clubs. And definitely, I wouldn't say that doing the diploma limits your ability to also do extracurriculars. Something that's really nice about CAS, which is one of the core requirements for being a diploma candidate, is you can actually use a lot of your extracurriculars that you'd normally be doing and use them for CAS. It just adds on another layer. So you're kind of like taking pictures or videos when you're doing it and then reflecting on it. But it's really nice because the IB program emphasizes like not just academics, and they want you to like partake in these other extracurricular activities.
All right, I'm going to just share 2 cents about this and then go to the next question. The theme of time management has obviously come up a lot with all of the students. And one thing I've noticed, from an adult perspective is, and one of the biggest benefits, I think, outside of the academics is they're really learning all of this time management in a much kind of safer space and a more supportive space than if they were figuring out for the first time in college, right? So there are students who kind of, crash and burn and get themselves in a hole because they procrastinated. But in my opinion, I'd rather see them have that learning experience now when they have guidance counselors and an IB coordinator and teachers who are willing to let them do retakes. And it's kind of like this Del Mar family, right, that's here for them. Whereas if that happens in college for the first time, professors are not going to, be like, oh, well, let me just let you redo that. That's not going to happen. So to me, it can be hard to see, students at this age learn those struggles, but I think it's actually a benefit to learn them now and not when they're in college. Okay. The next question is, what are some ways or some maybe advice that you all have in terms of developing study habits that will prepare you for IB classes? So what would you recommend for students who are wanting to make sure that, you know, they have the study habits in place to do well?
For me, I know this doesn't work well for everyone, but I like to know what's happening throughout my week and what I have to look forward to. So I'll keep an eye on my homework and any plans that I have, whether it's like with family or friends. And I make a list on my phone of kind of like what homework I have, and then kind of like okay, as a planner, kind of like what I need to like when stuff due, when I have time, and then but still fitting in time for like relaxing and other self care stuff. But yeah, personally, I keep a list. I know it doesn't work for everyone, but it's really organized.
Fatima, and then Ansh, you can go after.
Two big ones for me. It's like an habit I learned it. It's called, I think, the Pomodoro effect. I don't do it how they explain it, which is like 25 intervals break. I do kind of assignment or like like let's say a chapter in a book, then break because you don't want to overwork yourself, but you also don't want to take too many breaks that you don't accomplish your goal. And also a really big one that I find very beneficial is, as a lot of teachers said, teaching it back to your peers. So like leading a group and just I like bug my best friend by calling her and explaining what I'm gonna write for Hoda. And then I find that doing that, I like I have a better explanation and then I get a better grade. Or like in AP Calc, we lead like with study sessions, I guess. So like explaining it, having someone, oh, this is my specialty, we explain it, and then someone takes the next one. So you see an explanation and you give one and then you learn the material better.
Yeah, so for me, it's kind of like Taryn said. I have like a whiteboard on my wall over there, and I have like all my dates, everything written down, when everything's due, and it's like organized by class. And then on top of that, kind of like Fatima said, I usually go to like my mom, and she just like sits there, and I explain like for sports science, these are the topics that we have to cover, and I explain each like learning goal, and then for math, I explain like each math concept, and just try to get someone else to try and understand what I'm trying to do so that it's easier for me to explain it when I have to give like an exam. And then on top of that, it's kind of just get the work done as it kind of comes in. So like if you have like a reading, try and finish that as soon as you can, because otherwise it just piles up really quickly. Like you might have one reading from a class, and then if you wait until like the day before it's due, you have to read like the chapters before it as well to kind of regain that foundation because you would have forgot it by then. And then you have to read the chapter. So it just piles up really quickly. And especially having like 6 IB classes, it's just a lot of work that would just like snowball, and then you'd be buried before you even know it.
Logan, go right ahead.
I think also understanding what you know and you don't know is really important. So finding tests online on Khan Academy or what something your teacher provides you. I know our biology teacher, Miss Lucas, she provides us with like lots of mini quizzes. So taking those seriously, and so I guess testing yourself, like I guess doing brain dumps really help. And then you go back to like the learning goals and figure out what you need to focus on. And again, it's prioritizing what you need. You don't need to know every single detail, but you need to know the majority.
Thank you, everybody. All right, I'm going to answer this next question. This person asked, do you recommend for straight A students to go for the full diploma? Not necessarily. I think what Allison said in the beginning is that she made a personal choice, that she knew she didn't want to kind of have that level of I don't know, maybe stress, right? Or constant kind of, it takes that constant vigilance, right? You can hear how diploma students really do need to be strategic with every bit of their time. We have quite a few students, I think, on this campus who I think I mentioned this earlier, are completely intellectually capable of handling all of the courses, but they've just made a decision that they don't want that to be their lifestyle, right, for the last 2 years of high school. And I probably spend more time counseling students out of the diploma than into it, because we really also care a lot about students' mental health, and we don't want a bunch of neurotic stress balls walking around our campus. The students who do the IB diploma, they're doing it because they like the challenge, because they're intellectually curious in a really wide range of subjects, and they're willing to put in that work. So it's not, to me, just a blanket like, yes, if you get straight A's you should do it. It really requires a lot more personal reflection. It looks like you all want to chime in here, so I'm gonna see you in the order that your hands went up on my screen. Logan, Taryn, Kate, Anch.
Judging based off Logan's reaction, I'll go. But I have a ton of friends who are much smarter than me. They get straight A's. They sometimes do their work on time, but they don't do the diploma either because they told me it was a waste of time, or it was just way too much work, and it's a lot of work. And just because you're smart, like, you can do it, but it's a lot more than just being smart. Um, like it's a lot of like hard work, and it's not something, like, oh, like, just because I'm smart I can kind of like, treat it like regular school. Like, it's a lot harder than that.
Um, so I've never been a straight A student. I've been close to a straight A student before the IB diploma, but never actually a straight A student. And I think that's one of the things that IB really emphasizes is it's not always about the grades. And so, like, yes, if you have straight A's, you might be super successful doing the diploma. If you don't always have straight A's, you might still be super successful doing the diploma. I think one of the biggest things I've found with people who do the diploma and who choose not to, perfectionism tends to be one of those characteristics that um, doesn't help with the diploma, because you're not going to have the time to learn everything or get an A on every test or in every class. And that's something I think for me personally, and for a lot of diploma students, um, it's kind of been a wake up call, because we're always told, like, oh, get straight A's, get good grades, get the highest score. But with IB, they really emphasize learning the content and learning how to like analyze things and the skills rather than getting the best grade. And I think that's something that when you're going into the diploma, and if you're choosing to take a lot of IB classes or do the full thing, you need to be mindful that you're not going to always do great, and it's going to be a challenge, but every grade isn't like worth everything.
Yeah, kind of building off what Kate said, you also kind of need to have that passion to like want to learn and be like challenged in school. Because like for me personally, I know if a class isn't challenging or if I'm not engaged in a class like mentally, I won't be able to give like 100% to that class. And like Kate said, it's not about the grades, it's about the content that you learn and understand. Because yes, grades are important, but they're not as important as like what you learn in the process. And that's kind of what IB emphasizes. Like for example, I took AP Gov, and for the final exam, it was just a bunch of memorization of like these court cases, these dates, these structures, these events. But now that I'm in IB Hoda, it's very different. It's more like, tell me what you know about this specific event and how did that impact this other thing. So you kind of find these correlations and connections. And the only way to do that is to understand what's going on and not just memorize like, oh, the U.S. was formed on this day, the Declaration was signed here, and it's kind of just content focused. And you need to have that passion to like want to learn that content.
Okay, there's a few questions left, and then I want to wrap us up. There were a couple questions about testing. So someone asked, are exams still happening during distance learning? Well, last spring, exams were canceled, and students' scores were calculated based on the internal assessments. and the teachers' predicted grades. We don't have an official announcement yet from the IB organization. They have sent an email, actually, I think it was either the end of last week or early this week, saying that we should know in early February. So we're kind of all anxiously waiting. But my gut is telling me that we will be doing the same thing we did last year, which is that we won't that we won't be able to sit for the actual exams, and it will be based on students' IAs again. The last question that someone asked was about the jump from Spanish 3, French 3 into an IB language class. So I'm just going to open that up to students. Can you describe your experience with that?
As a French student, Madame Sade, she kind of like starts, I guess, like starts like the same learning and concepts and tests that you do in IB French and French 3, so that when you go into IB French, it's not like, oh my God, it's so much harder. It's kind of like, oh, I'm used to this. I know what to expect. And you're kind of like, what's the word? Like climatized, I guess, to it. So it's not that big of a jump. I don't know about for Spanish, but for French, it's a really smooth transition.
Let's go, Allison, Logan, Anch.
For me, I think that it was a pretty smooth transition as well, because I think that Spanish 3 really prepared me to go into IB. And she stressed that, or my teacher for my sophomore year was Miss Shetzla. She really prepared us and really made sure to tell us like how important it was to learn the content we were learning then for IB. And even then, in my first semester of taking IB Spanish, I'm in the SL course. We did a lot of review and we do a lot of breakout rooms, and she really makes it a comfortable environment for us to get a hold of the content, especially during distance learning.
Yeah, like Allison, we're in the same class. We're in a mix with HL and SL students, so there's some Spanish speakers, which can be like nerve-wracking, but they're all very nice, and you shouldn't be afraid to make a mistake because we're all learning. I saw the question you said how much Duolingo you have to do. I would just say review your conjugations and grammar over the summer so you just don't forget it. And then what's also really helpful is watching shows, either dub Spanish or subbed in Spanish, and then you can just every so often repeat a line, and it's just something really easy, I guess, lazy studying you can do, and it just helps with your accent or being able to pronounce things better.
Yeah, so I'm also in French SL with Taryn. And like you said, Madame Sade kind of started teaching the concepts of IB French, like in French 3. So it was like, instead of being a giant leap, it was like a small stepping stone in a way. And if you're ever like in any doubt, Madame Sade is always like super helpful, and like all the teachers are as well. So over the summer, I like contacted her. Like I'm like, hey, I'm taking, as you know, I'm taking IB French next year. Do you have like some like stuff that I could use over the summer to kind of keep my French knowledge up to date? And it being the summer, Madame Sade did not have to respond, but she did, and she gave me a bunch of resources. And she's like, oh, if you have any questions, feel free to email me and contact me. And if you want like me to check anything, I'd be more than willing to. So that kind of support was really helpful in that transition from French 3 to IB French. Even now, if you have a question or if you need anything, you can always like, it's always just like fine to just contact Madame Sade and just talk to her and get that kind of understanding and like gain what you need to gain, the knowledge that you need to gain.
All right, Fatima, you're going to be our last answer to this question.
So I'm assuming from the Duolingo part, it was aimed for non-native speakers, but I am a native speaker of Spanish and I'm taking IB Spanish HL. And I think it was a relatively smooth transition. I thought of like Spanish being almost like what happens at my home, but now I'm getting a grade for it. So I found it was easier for IB Spanish speakers. So I would encourage if you are like a native speaker and you're like straying away from taking an IB class because it has IB, I'd say that it's actually relatively easier compared to the other classes if you are a native. So I would encourage you to take that class.
Okay, I'm going to wrap us up just to respect everybody's time. First, I really want to just give a huge thank you to all of our student panelists. I don't even pay them to say this stuff. They just do it. And I didn't prep them either. I mean, they knew what questions I was going to ask, but I don't tell them what to say. So I'm so grateful to you all. You represent Del Mar so well, and you represent the IB program so well. We're very proud to be able to call you Dons. I'm sure, I don't know if you can hear it, but I can. There's a huge applause from all of the participants. So thank you so much, students. Let me talk about next steps for everybody. So if you're a current Del Mar student, you will know that we are in the middle of everybody picking their classes. You have until Friday, April 2nd to drop a class and make changes to your schedule. So an important event that I think will be really helpful if you are a sophomore or junior and you're really wanting to learn more about a specific IB class and kind of get more in-depth information about that class to determine which one you want to take. You might be choosing between, I don't know, sports, exercise, and health science or IB environmental systems. On March 3rd, we're going to be having our IB AP night. I'll be doing a kind of general intro presentation, and then teachers are going to be recording in-depth videos about their classes where you can learn what the units are, what the assessments are, what the homework is like. And that really is meant kind of like a shopping evening where you can determine which classes you want to sign up for. So mark your calendars for that. And then anyone is more than welcome to email me. My email's on the screen there. I can help you create a 4-year plan, update your plan, answer questions that you have about, IB courses, and I'm happy to answer anyone's questions. If you had a question tonight that we didn't get to, please email me. And then just a reminder to current Del Mar students, your last day to drop a class is Friday, April 2nd. Although we allow you to add a more advanced class at any time. We always want you to push yourself. So you can change your schedule to add an IB class whenever you want. But if you change your mind and want to drop one, it's later. There's got to be some side texting or chatting going on. You guys are laughing at things and it's not me. All right. I think that is it.